Well, so what is the state of inflation? Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for Prudent Money. Good afternoon and welcome to the Prudent Money Radio Show. I'm your host, Bob Brooks. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Well, if you got a question for me, I would love to talk to you and do whatever we need to do to help you out. Just go to the website at prudentmoney.com. Once you get to the site there, you'll see at the top of the page there is an Ask Prudent Money. And click through and just send us your information and inquire your question, and we'll get you taken care of. It's all at the website, www.prudentmoney.com. Well, it seems like on the program we've been very busy doing quite a few interviews and that sort of thing. Today it's just you and I, which is nice to have this day to kind of catch up on questions, talk a little bit about what you're hearing, talk about some opinions of what's going on and maybe what's not going on. And of course, as we've talked about in the past, there is a lot of agenda on a lot of different levels. So what we do is we pick through and figure out our best guess as to what might be next for your retirement money. Let's not call it the stock market because we're talking about your retirement money being in the stock market. And that's what's most important out of the two. Today, the story doesn't really change. It's the reaction to the story that is most important. And today we talk more about, again, inflation, and we talk about recession. Just so that you know, this morning, inflation numbers came out, and basically they were hotter than expected. So they over the past 12 months, it says that they stated that inflation has grown more than anticipated. But here's the thing that I want to encourage you to consider with me today is that these numbers that are coming in that are showing a rekindling of inflation problems in America are very mild numbers, but they look like they're starting to build a trend. And the reason you're not seeing inflation numbers go up quicker, go up further than they are right now is because the information on tariffs and that's just getting started. And plus now the court systems are involved. So who knows what that's going to look like, and who knows how it's going to manifest itself in these numbers. So really, the inflation data is doing just about what it's supposed to do, given the situation, the circumstances. Big picture, we should not be having this conversation. We should not be seeing inflation at all. After being through everything, after going through the Fed, raising interest rates, it should have cured the problem. So that's what concerns me is the fact that it doesn't seem to concern people in government and the media. Is that it doesn't come down to the presence of inflation and the inflation's growing. It comes down to that it's happening at all. And the fact that it's happening at all before the real big inflation catalysts start to show their presence, that to me is alarming. But the market is, it's one of those things where you'll never be able to fully understand what happens in the market. So you kind of got to go with it. The other thing that we're watching is jobless claims. These are people who on a weekly basis apply for unemployment benefits. And you're starting to see that go up, not alarming levels, but enough to get your attention to point out that things are not as stable as you might think. The job market is not as good as you might think, and it's just tough to find a job. As far as real-time data goes, you can't get more real-time really than the unemployment claims benefits, because they report the prior week every Thursday at 7:30 a.m. and it's about as up to date as you can get. And I remember watching it go through COVID, and just boy, those numbers got really big. But so far, it's moving. It's coming. It's just bringing unemployment benefits and the lack of job creation into the big picture, and we're of course now discussing it. The reality here is what we don't want to be doing is discussing inflation and the decline in jobs and the decline in economic growth at the same time. But that conversation has started. Where it goes is going to, I think, will greatly affect the stock market. A couple other things to keep in mind is that it really also comes down to the confidence level of the consumer being affected by this data, being affected by this conversation, and by the real thing, which is inflation, and not maybe being laid off, not being able to get a job. And the consumer drives 2/3 of all economic growth through consumer spending. And so we really want to look at what the consumer is saying, and that's why I have so many different companies come on and do show and talk about the results of surveys and what they're being told as they go through and have conversations, meaningful conversations with people. And the reality is that people are starting more and more to fear inflation. They're not so much talking about the jobless, about unemployment yet, but they're definitely talking about inflation. And they're talking about it from the standpoint of we've got a huge problem. And I wouldn't say that we have a huge problem yet, but it's the anticipation and the belief in the optic that's being created that we have inflation, and that inflation is getting to be a real problem. I would say if you go in, I always use the grocery store as the best barometer, and I do the grocery shopping for my house. So when I go on the weekend, I've noticed here as of late that prices are a little bit higher, but just kind of what you would expect. But during the inflation, the real inflation period that we had 3 or 4 years ago, that was, you could really see it in the prices. Now you're seeing it in spots of the food industry. I think if you look at ground beef, premium ground beef, 90% ground beef, you're probably looking at maybe a 20% increase in the price of the cost of ground beef. So that's concerning, that you've got the consumer optics, such as they believe and they're acting as if the bad news is already here and affecting things when it's not here yet. And it may not become a big, huge deal, but then again, it might become a big deal. So I told a story last week. During COVID, I remember specifically this interview that they had with a restaurant owner, and he was saying, we haven't raised our prices yet, but all the different restaurants are starting to raise their prices, so we probably should should raise our prices to get ready for that as well. And there was no inflation showing up, not yet anyway. But it's almost like they're getting ready for something that's, like a hurricane that can either turn out to be really good or really bad. And so I think the consumer acts the same way. They get to a point where they go, well, we need to prepare for inflation. And you can see it. It's in our food. It's in our gasoline, and it's almost like people are starting to imagine it as if it's already here. So keep your eye on it. We'll keep you posted here on Prudent Money. But it's definitely something that is a concern, especially with the very real potential of the Federal Reserve Board lowering interest rates. We've talked about this many times, and I think I'll go over it again just to make sure everybody's on the same page. If you have inflationary concerns, if you have inflation showing up in your economy, you don't want to lower interest rates, which is what President Trump wants and the White House wants. I can't think. I think it's a very bad idea. But that's and there's a lot of people who think that as well. You just don't. It's not a good idea. It's like striking a match and throwing it into a very, very small fire. Will it catch and grow into a big fire or not? Same thing with the interest rates. If you lower interest rates, then you could start a big fire, and it's like throwing that match into a fire. We'll come back to this here in a second. I need to make sure we stop for a break. This is Bob Brooks. We are up against a break. Stick around. I'll be right back. Hello, this is Bob Brooks. Proverbs 22:3 and Proverbs 27:12 are the exact same verse word for word. I call them the stewardship verses of risk. A prudent person foresees danger and takes precautions. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. On the Prudent Money Radio Show, we teach about risk, how to identify it, how to figure it out, and what to do about it. We believe that to be a prudent steward, you have to be a good risk manager. Listen to the Prudent Money Radio Show on Bible School Radio 91.3. Prudent Money, home of the modern-day steward movement.
Dynamic, practical, life-changing.
There's no point in going to church and not letting the Christ who gave birth to the church on the day of Pentecost change your life.
Join us each day as Pastor Paul Shepherd applies the timeless truth of Scripture to everyday life. It's Destined for Victory on this great station.
Weekday afternoons at 3:30 here on Bible School Radio, KDKR.
Hi, I'm Jan Markell, host of Understanding the Times. We're very excited to be a part of Bible School Radio. I hope you will join me Saturday, 10 a.m., for cutting-edge guests and the latest information to help you discern the truth, even the inconvenient truth. We'll help you understand our times and contend for the faith. That's Understanding the Times, Saturday at 10 a.m., right here on Bible School Radio or anytime at olivetreeviews.org.
Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thanks so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. If you got a question for me or want me to look at something or want an opinion, whatever it might be, go to the website, www.prudentmoney.com. Send a question in, and I'll get you taken care of. We set that resource up for a reason. It's there to help you out and get you the information that you need. We can at least point you in the right direction. That's off the website, www.prudentmoney.com. I was talking about if you're seeing inflation, you don't want to add gasoline to that rocket and fuel it if you're starting to see weakness in the economy. If it's just inflation, then you raise rates to calm inflation down. But if you lower rates and you're starting to see inflation before that, even do that, that's a dangerous move. And I just don't get it why the administration is real gung ho on doing this. except to boost the economic numbers, but careful what you wish for. So that's what we're talking. That's what we're watching and keeping an eye on it. I keep coming up with the word unprecedented, and it makes me wonder when the market and the news media, Wall Street, everybody gets together and declares, well, we know what's going to happen, and we know that the stock market's going to do this or is going to do that. In this case, the market is already convinced that the Federal Reserve will raise interest rates a quarter or maybe even 0.5%. And if that happens, if they lower rates, what they're expecting the markets to do is interest rates start to lower, and bond prices go up. What would happen there is that would be a good thing, presumably, for the mortgage rates. That should take mortgage rates down and other consumer lending and borrowing and kind of kick everything back going again. Keep in mind, we're not seeing a recession yet, but we're seeing economic weakness. So the only thing that's going to benefit is economic weakness, and that could be wiped out by the potential increase in inflation because we lowered rates. Hope that made sense. But it's interesting time. So here is my question to you, and we'll follow this, of course, very closely. Let's say that the Federal Reserve comes out and they say, we're going to lower interest rates by 0.5%. Markets pretty much already got that figured out that that's going to happen. And now we look towards the interest rate market and the bond market. And what we're wanting to see is interest rates go down. And if interest rates goes down, that's going to have an impact on mortgage rates going down, get our real estate markets from being unstuck, and maybe get some automobiles sold on some lower rates, and kind of put some gas in the economy and get it going again. What if interest rates either don't move, continue as they have been for the past 5 years, kind of going side to side, or if they go up? Nobody is expecting that to happen, but what if it did? Because once again, I think that we've categorized this expect in a way that says expect the unexpected. Anything could happen. So we'll just see. It's the only time will tell, and what'll happen. But just keep posted here, and I will keep you posted. Hey, this is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Since it's on a Thursday today, always like the end of the week. That means things are slowing down. Then we've got wanted to go over a couple of questions with you that have come in, and hopefully you can benefit from it. It says, Dear Bob, I'm trying to choose which financial advisor to select. It is between two advisors. I have tried to determine their values and belief system. What do you believe is most important? Well, you'd like to think that a financial advisor runs his or her business by a set of beliefs that guide the financial advisor as they work with clients. And so you really want to be able to look at those values and say, yeah, I track with that. That's the kind of values that I could believe in, and that's the kind of values I want my financial advisor to be following as they work with me and give me advice. So all I can do is go through the ones that we have that really influence decisions, influence how we do things, act as a filter for everything. The first one is we meet you where you are. And this one is, to me, a very much a sign of the times, is that brokerage companies have raised their minimum asset level that they'll take. So let's say that if you don't have $1 million, you can't go work with these financial advisors. And what we like to do is take 30 minutes, which we don't charge any fees for that first 30 minutes, and assess what you need, and then get you placed with somebody, and that could be a number of different resources to help you not only get your questions answered, but get you on the right track. And then we've got programs in addition to that we can help you with. So there's we didn't get into the business to turn people away. You are where you are, so let's go from here and get you on track. The second one is improve your today and better your financial tomorrow. What so many people do is they procrastinate, they put off doing things, and by doing so, they're not increasing the value of tomorrow. I truly believe that in order to create value and better your financial tomorrow, you have to do things today to improve your ability to do so. And that would be making decisions. That would be maybe researching and determining if a particular move is the best for you, to spending plan. Really do the things on a day-to-day basis that make you successful with money. Better yet, makes you successful being the best steward you can be with money. If they're right, there's the bar. The third one is rethinking beliefs about money. And I am a big believer that you own your beliefs. Now, what that means is simply this, is figure out where your beliefs came from to begin with. And a lot of people will listen to the media, follow somebody in the media, follow somebody on the radio, follow somebody in their writing, and whatever they believe, they kind of rent that. I call it belief renting. It's so very. I mean, if you ask them why do you believe that way, they say, well, Joe Smith over there at KRLI said on his radio show that it made sense to think that way. So it made sense to me, and that's the way I think. You need to be able to explain in detail why you think the way that you do, because it's then and only then do you own that belief about money. And that's very important, because we make a lot of decisions through those beliefs. The next one is we call lifelong learning. I am a big advocate of learning as much as you can about how the economy works. I know this is not something that is a lot of people would choose, and they would sit there and think, I think I'm going to read an economics book. Just start reading more and understanding. Read blogs, listen to podcasts, listen to radio shows when you get a chance, and seek to learn. And I just find that the most successful people are those who study money and study stewardship when it comes to money. It's a big deal. The last one is invest, grow, and protect. This is stewardship. And it does all come down to stewardship. That's the guiding light. And what most advisors do, and I just don't agree with this, is that they invest and they grow. They don't touch the money. They don't manage the money for risk. They don't protect it if they need to. They stay what I call and refer to as a type A portfolio. They just ride the roller coaster versus, hey, the risk level is really built up. There's a lot of danger about this market. We need to take the right steps to make sure that we are in the right place in the event that financial hurricane does come across shore. I think it is one of the most important driving values I know that we've got, because it is all about stewardship at the end of the day. And it's all about three ways that I guess you call it the trinity of growing money: invest, grow, and protect, and how important those three work together and help keep you on track to reach your goals. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know, I do appreciate it. Real quick, I wanted to mention that yesterday we talked about the Johnson Amendment with Dan Pilla. And the Johnson Amendment, it was set in, I think, 1954 for those nonprofits such as churches who operate under a 501c3, which gives them tax benefits, as long as they don't talk about political or endorse anybody politically from the pulpit. And they quickly took that away, for that the ability for churches to do that. The Johnson Amendment was signed into law in the mid 1950s, and now it looks like that it's going to be changed to where churches can talk about political candidates as to how they. I think it's Dan said the best way as it comes to religious beliefs and doctrines and that kind of thing. So that's exciting. It's a huge shift, and I just want to make sure people got the gist of that. Make sure you go listen to that podcast, and you can get the whole thing. Dan brings great information to the table. If you have a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.